I took my job for this conference literally from the title of the conference. I don't want to speak about STEM in archaeology or archaeology as such. I will just show you the data about the teaching of, let's say, STEM-related topics condensed in archaeological curricula. Because, well, in the first place, we should know what we are talking about. And I must admit, at the end of my survey, I was quite surprised by the data. And that means that we still may find ourselves talking about the things that we really not know well. I don't mean by not knowing well that we are not good at some mathematics, engineering, but we don't know what is teaching, and especially about STEM related subjects. So my survey covered 27 countries in Europe, 78 universities, and 163 archaeological curricula. I will just read few introductory sentences. Well, we aim to reveal the STEM-related educational landscape in this field and to see the contents and quantities of STEM subjects in the curricula of the heritage-related disciplines. By heritage-related disciplines, I meant, this is not working, sorry. I meant especially archaeology, art history, history, ethnology, and architecture. Of course, there are other disciplines involved, but let's say these are the core disciplines that make up different heritage institutions, be it museums, protection institutes, and so on. Well, at the first step, I wanted to check the curricula of all these 4-5 disciplines. First discovery is, or was, that architecture is essentially an engineering discipline. The curricula contained so much engineering content that basically the architecture was simply put out of these two. They have so much engineering and technical stuff in their curricula that other disciplines cannot compare with architecture. That was my first move, to get rid of architecture, because it does not have sense. The archaeology, among the rest of the discipline, includes by far the largest quantity of STEM content. Is not something new. However, two other facts were more striking. The heterogeneity of STEM in archaeology, the very, very wide areas and fields and topics covered in one way or another in archaeological curricula from STEM sources was surprised. Technically, nothing else was left outside the STEM that wasn't in one way or another present in archaeology. And the second fact was that art history, ethnology, and history in particular, they don't have almost nothing about the STEM in their curriculum. By STEM, I meant everything from computing, data science, quantitative methods, down to the biological, geological, other physical, chemical, and technical stuff. Art history, and ethnology are very, very weak in this sense. Art history and ethnology sometimes, occasionally, have subjects that have to do with visual art, with visual technology and media, but what they are teaching is normally about the content and interpretation rather than technological achievements and technological potentials of these new techniques. So in the next step, I looked at many curricula. I couldn't find any real STEM in art history, ethnology, or anthropology, and history in particular. So I had to avoid it. It had no sense to look at it. I checked few states and this. So here are the first general notes. The 78 universities I looked present somewhere between 25 to 30% of all universities in Europe which have archaeological curricula. Selection of university was not really systematic. 3 universities per country. For smaller countries, even less, because there are not more than 2 or even 1. Another realization was that the system of teaching archaeology in general in Europe is so complex, so complicated, so heterogeneous, that it's very difficult to compare curriculum at all. It's not very easy to compare. There are so many ways how you get an anthropological degree. I'm not talking about the content, I'm talking about the form, dual subject, combined subject as a part of a wider subject, single subject, 3 years studies, 4 years studies, and so on. Despite the attempts of Bologna system, well, there's some elements were unified, basically only the 2-level studies, graduate, undergraduate, and the application of the ACTS system. But even here, the interpretation of the ACTS is not the same. We have, let's say, the same amount of ACTS for courses in one country, and the same number of ACTS courses in the other country, but they may have like 300 or 200% difference in teaching hours. So it's not really the same. So my data was collected online, but not all curricula or relevant data from curricula was available, accessible online. Then STEM contents are hidden many times in more general modules, so you can't really say what's in, like archaeological methods, psychological research, and it's difficult to distinguish the ratio of individual STEM discipline from these general modules and general descriptions. So I had to, for the coherence of my survey, I had to abandon looking at these models. So, but then again, the system is so complicated and the data was so complex that I tried to normalize the data in order to adjust it for at least some kind of comparison in statistics, and it was very difficult, time-consuming, and of data was sometimes missing on some parameters. It was difficult. So what I will present is very basic, with the quantitative description possible. And aim was to reveal some general patterns and structure. Well, first was how to distinguish, let's say, STEM subjects, STEM topics, STEM-related contents in curricula. But somewhere at least around 60 different subjects. Different, I don't mean different in terms of geology for archaeologists or geoarchaeology, but I mean different in disciplinary overviews. I treated, let's say, these geological or similar titles as one type. So, and this was impossible to use too many different groups, names, topics. Impossible to have a coherent list. So I had to compress them into 11 groups of subjects. Environmental group, bioarchaeological group, for example, bioarchaeological group includes studying various aspects of the plant, animal, and human remains. So all kinds of archaeology subjects or plant remains subjects would just put together. It was simply too many different subjects would be impossible to present the results coherently. Geoarchaeological group, anthropology, I meant especially here physical anthropology and paleoanthropology. By the way, this is one of the, let's say, STEM topics which has probably the longest tradition in archaeology, so I kept it separately from bioarchaeological group. Archaeometry, quantitative methods, remote sensing, GIS, study of materials, and computing, very general compute, from very general to image processing, 3D modeling, etc. And there were also some subjects that are simply could not be classified easily into any of the groups, so I kept them as other subjects. These are the first results. Total hours of STEM groups for the whole Europe, for the whole 78 universities I took into consideration. And you can see that bioarchaeology and geoarchaeology are by far the most frequent in the whole Europe, not just in a few countries. Yellow is at graduate level, blue is at the undergraduate level. And then other groups comes down. For example, remote sensing is at the undergraduate level very poorly present. Archaeology of the materials is very poorly present at the undergraduate level, and so on. You also see that STEM-related subjects, I will do it shortly, STEMs, are much more frequent at graduate levels than at undergraduate level. In few cases, you have like general type like political science, you have it more at this level. Well, why? But first we have to consider that undergraduate levels are 3 or 4 years long, while graduates study 1 or 2 years. So you can see how much more stress of STEM is on graduate level. In many cases also, in a way that there are special MSCs, Masters of Science, dedicated to one or other aspect of archaeological science. I have to present results. Of course, presenting results for the whole Europe is possible in that sense only for a few aspects, because as we all know, archaeology has different teaching traditions in Europe, and data, if it's regionalized, gives much more sense, or that makes better understanding of it. So the Europe was, if I go back to this, divided into 5 regions according to the proposal of the International Standing Committee for Geographic Names. It's Northern Europe, Central Europe, Western Europe, Southern Europe, and Southeastern Europe. This is the proposal. I used this regionalization on several occasions. So you can see there are here is the number of universities, Central Europe 20, Western 16, and so on. In some cases, the number is very low, so we have to be very cautious about this. Three universities for Eastern Europe. It's not that I didn't check them, but simply I couldn't get data on the online sources. This is the distribution, the frequency of STEM hours in graduate and undergraduate courses for the region. So you can see that Central Europe and Western Europe stand out from this, while Northern Eastern, as I said, we have to be very cautious by cases with smaller number of universities, and Southeastern and Southern Europe are having a lower number of STEM. Not that we should not jump to conclusions too soon, because in, for example, Southern Europe, archaeology in some countries is part of very general courses in humanities, like in Italy. You get a degree in lettere, not in archaeology. You specialize later on in archaeology, but this is the course or degree in specialization. So, because they are providing more general courses on the first, on a BA levels and also MA levels, there's not much space for archaeology, let alone for STEM, because they have to cover Greek, Latin, history, geography, modern Italian language, and so on. It's more a matter of organization of studies rather than the relative wealth or tradition of archaeology in these countries. So these two regions stand out for this, and there are some good reasons why. However, to say that there is a deciding factor why it's impossible. I did a little logistic regression test just to be sure between the relative wealth of an adult population and the number of STEM hours. Let's say, trying to test a hypothesis. The richer the country, more STEM hours the country provides in its university curricula. The correlation, the R squared, was so low, 0.00 something, that this means not that there is no correlation, that this means that there are so many factors to be taken into consideration for correlations, not only two. Can't have this simple proposition that the richer the country, more STEM. No, it's not the function of this. So then I just broke down to graduate and undergraduate level just to see what is per university. This was one of my steps to normalize data, that an average regional university, say to say, University of Central Europe, University of Western Europe, and so on. So it's normalized, and to see what is the situation. An average number of hours of STEM in Central European University would be 220 hours offered of subject, not taught per student. One student would choose, I don't know, only 50 hours out of it, but this is the total number of hours provided for the graduate students.
Sorry, try to sum up, please, because your time is already up.
Okay, but we have to know what we are talking about.
Couldn't agree more.
But it's 20 minutes, isn't it?
So 15.
In the program, it's 20?
Excuse me. I said 15, nobody complained, so, okay.
You can see that Eastern Europe, I take no data for graduate level. And also this should be taken with some caution because of the small sample. But everywhere, undergraduate studies are, of course, equipped with less hours. Western and Central Europe had the most number of hours of STEM-related subjects. Others just follow this general pattern. This is more interesting, a regional distribution of STEM groups of subjects. What are we actually teaching in Europe? So this is this so-called typical Central European University, Western. As I said, this data should be really taken with cautious and others. So you can see that basically, first of all, there's no country without STEM in archaeology in Europe. Every country has some sort of STEM. Secondly, they teach all STEM, not that one region in Europe has did not teach STEM subjects in some more rare topics. No, even in Southern Europe, where there is less hours of teaching, they teach, so to say, everything. In Western and Central Europe, simply the number of hours per teaching are larger, the number is bigger, but still, the heterogeneity is almost the same. You can see also the relative frequency of some STEM types, like, for example, in Southeastern European University, this typical university, there is a huge tradition of anthropology, physical anthropology. In others, let's say, in Central European University, let's say, geoarchaeology prevails as such, while in Western European University, bioarchaeology, and so on. Of course, North European, we have this archaeological science, but as I have said, this is more general title, and you really don't know what's hiding behind. Probably the heterogeneity would be very similar, but simply we could not get the exact contents of the curricula to know what's exactly what are they teaching. This is at the undergraduate program. So you see, at the undergraduate program, we are teaching already everything. And this is at the graduate program. These are the thresholds in hours at the graduate program. So you can see in Western European University here, what up to this level, there are numbers at the undergraduate level go. All this is more than graduate level in terms of teaching hours. So you can see, again, heterogeneity is really great. Everyone is teaching, every region is teaching a lot of subjects. Even more because of these general titles for which you really can't say the exact content. All right, I know that everyone is interested in the state distribution. This is the situation, let's say, they are ranked. The states are ranked according to the combined number of graduate and undergraduate teaching. So Germany is in the first place. They have the most number of teaching universities. The University of Tübingen was demonstrated as the university with by far the richest STEM list of STEM subjects in all fields of archaeology. Great Britain, of course, not a surprise. Czech Republic, France, Netherlands, Spain, Serbia, relatively very high, for example. Italy is a strange distribution, almost nothing at the undergraduate level, but quite a lot on the graduate level. This is because, as I have said, archaeology in the graduate level is hidden in a very wide lateral studies. Lithuania very high, and so on. Of course, all these data should be looked with some caution. It's not that these samples are really exact, but I follow the philosophy of big data, more the merrier. More you have, some trends will come up regardless of the precision of the sample, because sampling precisely would require at least 1 year of work for one person to look and exactly make comparable data, which does not have sense. Albania, for example, very high, because they have really quite a lot of STEM subjects in the University of Tirana, and so on. Again, here, this is not, I have tested, if there is, as I have said, tested, there is a correlation between the relative wealth of the country and STEM studies, and there's none. Or how they traditionally develop their curricula, and in many cases, the influence of the leading academic scholars who introduced come out. This development, of course, reflects last 2 decades. If I would have a chance to have a similar check for, let's say, 1990s, the situation will be completely different. And this is the let's say, the final step in this development, the special MAs and even BAs in STEM archaeology. Of course, the blues are BAs or BScs, are in these sample universities, and the reds are just MA courses. You can see you have a Master of Science in Archaeology in Sofia and in Timișoara as well. Timișoara has an interesting course, for example, where it is? Archaeology and Environment in the Context of Sustainable Development. This is a special Master of Science course. Sofia has this. This is the, let's say, the final step in specialization. So, what to conclude after this? I have problems. I can only say archaeology went through radical change in last 20 or 30 years. And this is the landscape I was talking about. The third revolution, it was already there before Christiansen thought of it. All these subjects, many of them are new, but basically the structure was there for decades. So I have problems recommending, what should I recommend to such a developed landscape? This is what I said yesterday, because we found ourselves trapped into prejudices and ideas which are not really well supported with the empirical data. And this is what I wanted to say about the landscape. We should be very careful. Landscape of education is the result of a highly complex processes, highly different forces influencing this. You have university in the same country, one could be very traditional, one could be very advanced. So what to say about this country? Are they good in STEM archaeology or not? This is the problem I would like to discuss, but these are the data.